This video is about Lewis's shirt. It was part of the final project of Contemporary Practice, the Messages and Meanings project, and came out of the work on the archive. Specifically, I found when I looked at my archive, I had a few but very precious pieces of textile or clothing that had belonged to both my late husband and Lewis, who was a dear friend and died a couple of years ago. And in my mind was, why had I kept these things in my archive and what was I going to do with them? And explore the idea of preserving and working with them in various forms, which you can see in that project. Lewis's shirt started life as a dark brown printed full dress shirt, and I was inspired really by the idea of the autumn leaves, the process of abscission, the returning to the earth and transformation really. And so I wanted to explore how that worked. In the process, I also found it as a very therapeutic process myself, almost regardless of the outcome, and the idea of letting go and allowing things to disintegrate and to change. So this is what's left of the shirt. I ended up in my final sort of exhibition piece with it pinned on the wall as though it was growing like something organic, maybe lichen or something like that. And gradually, as I worked with it, I took more and more away from it. It didn't feel at all destructive. It was a gradual process. I reduced the colour, I took the panels out of it, then I took more panels out of it, and it lived on my wall for a number of weeks, and I worked with it over a number of weeks. And maybe that was just the pace at which I was ready to let go of it. But as it was deconstructed, it also felt like it was transforming into something different. And so I started to do this stitching, which started off very small, whereby little fragments were growing out of the buttonholes and out of the seams, and they just sort of grew almost without me thinking about it. Until at this point, or the way I pinned it on the wall in particular, it felt like it was becoming something else. It was almost not only just not the shirt it was, but becoming something different. And that felt quite important. So it taught me really, I'd started by trying to print over the fabric and wonder what would happen. And I printed with a black dye, with sort of leaf stencils, and I did various stitching onto it. And one of the reasons this was such a breakthrough sample for me was, as I was stitching these, this has just got, Lewis was a mountain biker, so it's got leaf patterns on here, and these are like reflecting the trails. And as I was doing this, I thought, this is just too decorative, it's too pretty, it's not really what I want to be saying. And it really made me examine what I thought about stitch and embroidery, which has always been close to my heart, but I'm not very comfortable with the sort of decoration idea. So this sample really was important because the stitch here partly is structural, it's building something, it's not just decorating. And partly, as I say, the process for me of building something, putting these together, imagining what might come out of this loss was also very important.